you for joining us for today's Ipsos Solutions webinar series. Throughout today's session, you will remain in listen-only mode. However, throughout the webinar, please submit your questions online using the Q&A feature. Time permitting, we'll answer questions at the end of today's session. However, if time runs short, then your question will be answered by email. Today's webinar is also being recorded and will be directly emailed to you. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's speakers, Stephanie Banos, Executive Vice President of Ipsos's Customer Experience Research Practice in the US, and Christy Click, Senior Client Officer. Christy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ellen. Good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted you have joined us today for one of our favorite topics, Gen AI. Right now, our world is moving fast, and with that comes increased demands on your time and decision-making. Across industries, you and your colleagues are being challenged to adapt and to grow more efficiently than ever before. You need to be the definitive voice of the consumer to your organization, to guide the best decisions by tapping data, by using that data to stay ahead of trends and technologies, communicating insights quickly and compellingly, and of course, proving its value and impact to your internal stakeholders. For any of this to happen, of course, you need complete trust in your data. That's why clients work with Ipsos. We get the information you need when you need to get it done right, and enabling you to get ahead. We are known for total understanding of society, markets, and people. We are a trusted partner to the world's biggest companies. As a matter of fact, that includes 25 of Fortune's 30 most admired companies in the world. As the world's #1 most innovative research company, according to Green Book Grit Report, we have a whole suite of solutions designed to help you navigate strategic challenges, develop better products, craft impactful campaigns, build indispensable brands and memorable experiences with world-class talent, unparalleled methodological rigor, and cutting-edge technology powered by the best of human as well as human and artificial intelligence. We understand and know how to navigate some of the most existential challenges and opportunities that you face, meeting the demand for fast and flexible and agile insights, democratizing data and the proliferation of Gen AI, of course, demonstrating business impact and ROI, and really important in today's environment is storytelling. We are training many of our clients' teams on how to deliver persuasive, powerful, human-centric storytelling and impactful deliverables. And then lastly, of course, you're looking for predictive measurement and foresight to bring you into the next decade. Today is the fourth in a series of webinars Ipsos is offering for solutions that meet your evolving demands. We'll be sharing 3 real-life stories of brands who are succeeding with Gen AI. Over to you, Steph.
Thank you, Christy. Hi, everybody. So today what we're going to cover is first our view on Gen AI and market research, and then I'll pass it back over to Christy, who will showcase 3 stories of Gen AI in action with our clients. And then to wrap, I'll share some best practices that we believe in thanks to our internal learnings and what we're seeing work well with clients as they leverage Gen AI. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So our view is pretty straightforward. We believe that Gen AI is a game changer in market research and fundamentally shifting how research is conducted, insights are extracted, and new ideas are generated and tested. We are all in. We've been leveraging AI and machine learning for years. And as soon as Gen AI started to take the world by storm, we quickly engaged in the conversation with a focus on ethical and responsible use, which is absolutely crucial for insights integrity. In fact, we had the honor of presenting 6 POVs at SMR this year, which was the most of any company to present in one summit. And we won Best Qualitative Paper and Best Overall Paper, which was a real honor and deeply appreciated by our teams who have been investing so much energy and thought power into embedding Gen AI in market research in the right ways. Globally, the market has taken a notice. So our size and our focus on this space means that we not only held our #1 status as the most innovative insights and analytics company, but we've established a dominant position based on voting. So how are we doing it? Our formula is a simple one, but not easy to execute unless you have the power of decades of market research know-how behind you. It starts with a safe and agnostic platform, but then comes to life with the quality of data used to train the models and data scientists who understand research methodology, the research methodologies validating them. From there, it's robust, user-centric, and use case specific prompt development that ensures the models are directed appropriately. In fact, our longest one that I've seen at least is 39 pages. And then it's having the right methodological and technological expertise verifying and applying the results. Lastly, trusting GenAI goes hand in hand with partnering with firms you trust and who have established themselves as reliable, ethical, responsible, and innovative partners. So now that I've given that high-level overview about how we're approaching GenAI, I'm going to turn it over to Christy to speak to our solutions and real-world examples of GenAI powering our clients' insights.
Thank you, Steph. Our teams are indeed developing a growing set of GenAI solutions to address our clients' needs. We won't have time today to get into the specifics of each of them, but we are always happy to follow up and provide demos and more detailed information about approach and outcomes. Today, I'm going to share some examples of InnoExplorer, Persona Bots, AI-generated curation, and Signals GenAI in action. So let's get started. So we heard Purina's desire to lean into experimenting with generative AI and predictive analytics. As their trusted partner, we shared relevant and timely GenAI thought leadership and just-in-time capabilities. This enabled them to accelerate their learning about how GenAI can be leveraged to innovate for growth. Very specifically, our partnership enabled Purina to apply the latest tools in the industry so they could experiment and determine what can scale for greater outcomes. Co-presenting at the Insights Association conference in Atlanta in April, at an AI summit in Copenhagen in September, and at the Insight Innovation Exchange AI virtual conference in October, we enabled Purina to share their GenAI story and influence other companies on how to best apply GenAI tools in learning plans. So now, I'll share an insider's look at 5 different approaches we executed that illuminate how GenAI can deliver faster and better outcomes. I was personally fortunate to be involved with their learning journey, so I'm excited to share this overview. Leveraging predictive analytics, we have fielded numerous InnoPredict studies for Purina. InnoPredict AI is Ipsos's fast and cost-effective screening solution that quickly predicts the market potential of ideas and concepts with validated metrics via evaluation of open-ended verbatims only, saving considerable time and money. Next, we have executed our InnoExplorer research, starting with fresh consumer data, which yielded over 100 unmet needs that we ranked and selected for idea generation. Our sophisticated idea prompts, which were engineered based on 45+ years of innovation experience and over 150,000 innovations, generated 140 ideas, which we prioritized, and then we screened before selecting which ideas to expand into full concepts using our concept generation 30-page prompt. This approach is the perfect blend of artificial and human intelligence, the latter bringing strategic focus to the process. Next, to enable Purina to get more mileage from their segmentation, we created Persona Bots that were made available in an intuitive, easy to navigate web-based portal. Some of the primary benefits are easy socialization of segmentation, ability to converse with personas individually or in a focus group, and understand the reaction to relevant questions like lifestyles and attitudes, behaviors, channel performance, and communication needs. Next, we also leveraged our community platform to transform video observation of pet owner interactions into the creation of a dog persona, which led to influence of different communication strategies. And then lastly, we built a platform and ingested over 40 documents to analyze the data transversally using GenAI applications. Our curation team leveraged our ipsos facto to produce 40 concepts and create personas using our proprietary human motivation syncytium framework, again, yielding a dog point of view. The client's key takeaway was AI can help us do things faster and cheaper, of course, but also do things we couldn't do before, like take on the persona of the dog. Now I'm planning to shift gears and talk about an example from Orange. Orange is a leading telecommunications operator and digital service provider with operations in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, operating in 26 countries, serving over 298 million customers, individuals, professionals, and large companies. Orange has embarked on an innovative journey to further its corporate social responsibility marketing strategy, with a particular focus on significantly reducing its carbon footprint. They have established an agile structure known as the Low Carbon Offer Incubator to nurture low carbon business ideas. Thanks to the strategic integration of segmentation-based GenAI persona bots, Orange is defining the way it accelerates consumer response within the development of CSR offers and initiatives. So one idea that came through the incubator was to focus on the refurbished phone offering. Our persona bots were prompted for their reaction to the concept and what messaging about this offer would most resonate. And as you can see here, actives were most receptive and the environmental benefits stood out as most relevant value proposition. The other segments were more likely to engage based on the economic benefits, lower cost, of the refurbished phone, with believers having some affinity to the eco-responsibility message. The AI persona bot serves as a valuable aid in 3 complementary dimensions. 1, it facilitates almost immediate segment-based feedback on rapidly evolving topics, allowing for better understanding of the sensitivities and preferences of each segment and setting the stage for targeted marketing. 2, it enables teams engaged in design thinking phases to leverage responsive personas that are not influenced by common biases, such as confirmation bias or expertise bias. And then thirdly, it empowers customer knowledge teams to promptly respond to requests from various contacts, including marketing and communications, for testing concepts, ideas, communication strategies, and developing compelling arguments. This approach enabled Orange to better align their sustainability efforts with known customer needs and preferences at the beginning of the concept ideation and innovation funnel, which will ultimately lead to both growth and positive social and environmental impact. Our last use case is actually for L'Oreal. They presented at the AI Summit in Copenhagen, where I was presenting the Purina case. So I heard this one firsthand and I'm very excited to share this remarkable application with you. So we work with the L'Oreal CMI team, which is a community of 350 people who have the ambition to have a proactive approach to growth and commitment to staying ahead of emerging trends. From the very start of their GenAI journey, they had a strong belief in its potential as an enabler, in particular, helping to shift from just collecting data, developing analysis, and identifying insights to truly advising their business partners and helping the business teams ask the right questions. Now, L'Oreal is fortunate to already have change in their DNA. So with GenAI, they were ready to dive in and own it from the outset. This didn't mean they didn't share the same reluctancy as everyone else. For example, they wondered if AI outputs are built on underlying patterns of past data, how could AI uncover new untold insights? So armed with belief in its potential, but the same uncertainty everyone else faces with GenAI, L'Oreal invited partners to their innovation days last year. We, Ipsos, already had a solid strategy on GenAI, And after we presented at L'Oreal's Innovation Days, several ideas were born and the pilot started, as well as comprehensive upskilling programs that we would be partnering with them on. So we started with the belief that Gen AI, along with AI, will unlock unlimited facets of humans, rather than just looking at one segment or one question at a time. It would let us explain the depth of humans, looking at behaviors and needs, but also looking at desires and tensions and hopes and fears. And with this in mind, we sought to tackle the topic of mental wellness, which is now the world's #1 health concern ahead of cancer and COVID. Last year, there were almost 17 million conversations at the crossroads of beauty and mental health. So the topic is wide and complex. It's not about one benefit, not about one ingredient. It's really about how humans perceive themselves. So thanks to Ipsos and the Signals Gen AI solution, L'Oreal was able to look at all those conversations from many different lenses, just playing with buttons that reflect precise and complex prompts, representative of literally thousands of hours of prompt engineering efforts. They were able to look at this massive conversation with an angle of trends, motivations, need states, drivers, barriers, and literally it only took a matter of a few seconds. So in just a few clicks, L'Oreal was able to access the themes and insights to help them decode key topics of interest. This is how consumer intelligence becomes augmented intelligence. And AI and Gen AI open up infinite possibilities to decode humans in real time, faster, with more granularity, and with unprecedented depth and nuance. This AI pilot debunked initial fears that AI cannot uncover new untold insights from past data. And as mentioned earlier, it's not just about the pilots, though. We partnered with L'Oreal to drive comfort with AI across the organization through a comprehensive upskilling program. Now, let's take a quick look at our Signals Gen AI platform. Specifically, Signals Gen AI is built into our Synthesio social listening platform to harness the power of Gen AI. The Signals tool is designed for simplicity, requiring just 3 clicks to get to insights in less than 1 minute. Makes it perfect for democratizing social intelligence across users in your organizations. For researchers, it connects social insights to research domains with our proprietary prompts tied to brand, experience, innovation, market trends, pain points, unmet needs, jobs to be done, and so on. It's also grounded in research data that is tested and validated to combat hallucinations so that the insights provided are factual. The sources span the large social networks, blogs and forums, news and media, ratings and reviews, and search data from Google, Amazon, Pinterest. L'Oreal, in fact, presented on the value Signals brings to the organization at the SMR conference, stating that had they had this 2 years ago, they would have saved over €1 million. So the key takeaway from L'Oreal is that don't stop thinking about what's possible and start experimenting now and leverage your partners like Ipsos to build the future of research. Back to you, Steph.
Thank you, Christy. So those were fantastic stories and such an inspiration for what's possible. And now to supplement that inspiration, I want to speak to some of the best practices that we learned along the way that you can also apply to your Gen AI journey. So first, and one of our most important fundamental strategies that's existed since day one with Gen AI is to approach it as a blend of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. Not just keeping the human in the loop, but truly a blend of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. Humans bring the imagination, creativity, and curiosity, while AI brings efficiency, inspiration, and scale. This is core to what we build, and how we use Gen AI. There are many emerging solutions in the marketplace that claim to solve problems with AI alone. But without the role of human intelligence alongside the technology, we assert that the outcomes will fall short. We also established a manifesto to guide everything that we're doing with Gen AI. The purpose of this manifesto is very similar to an initiative charter, but it's really set to ground all of our decisions in key principles around creativity, curiosity, ethics, and rigor in any solutions that we're building, whether it's for our internal use as part of research workflows or in the solutions that we're creating for clients, like the ones that Christy took us through. And beyond that, we also have an evaluation framework. And this, again, is guiding absolutely everything we do. We call it truth, transparency, and trust. And this framework ensures that we take steps to drive accuracy and accountability in outputs, that we can clearly explain results and verify the source, and confirm that everything that we're building adheres to our standards for ethics, privacy, and security. So having that sort of manifesto or charter and having an evaluation framework are two best practices to guide any development that you're doing within your organization and how you're evaluating your partners' tools. So following our commitments to human intelligence and artificial intelligence and truth and transparency, we launched a platform called Ipsos Facto in early 2023. This is our secure and agnostic Gen AI platform that leverages the latest Gen AI models, but is grounded and trained on our proprietary market research data. It is built by researchers for researchers, and it powers our best-in-class suite of tools and capabilities for internal use, as well as the client-facing solutions that we spoke about earlier. So as many of you are building your own in-house solutions, there's some transferable best practices from our own development that I wanted to share with you today. The first is the importance of making sure that you're working with a closed environment. This means your models are not trained in data from the public domain, but rather the data you choose, like how we're training our models using our own proprietary research. The second is to build tools that are use case specific. Ours is, of course, built specifically for research use cases, so it's trained with that type of data, and the robust prompts in the background that guide outputs are, again, geared towards research use cases. This intentionality is what makes it a reliable tool for our teams and for our clients. When we launched Ipsos Facto, we also took the decision to immediately democratize access to it for all of our employees to support all of the core research use cases. That was a big bet, right? A lot of organizations, as they're launching in-house solutions, are kind of bringing in pilot teams with very specific cases. But we believe, again, in the power of human intelligence, and we wanted to make sure that our researchers and our client teams and our finance team and our marketing team were all providing innovation from the ground up to guide our roadmap and to ensure that what we're building is bringing tangible value to our employees and to our clients. So I can't stress enough how beneficial it is to get tools like this quickly into your employees' hands and get their feedback so that it's powering a truly user-centered roadmap. So to us, responsible use of Gen AI also means putting security and privacy at the core of what we do. This means proper governance, enterprise-grade infrastructure that adheres to local country guidance, and continuously validating security. I think it goes without saying that these are best practices, but it's also costly and time-intensive. So as you consider leveraging tools in the marketplace and consider solutions from your partners like Ipsos, I encourage you to probe on these topics or issue compliance questionnaires to validate that these steps are being taken. Another best practice is the good old garbage in, garbage out guidance when it comes to data. Quality and integrity of the output is dependent on using the right data to train your models. We leverage historical syndicated data from Ipsos Global Advisor, Ipsos Global Trends, and proprietary research and benchmarks from across our service lines. We also use data from third parties to train our models, always respecting GDPR, ownership rights and privacy rights, as well as our own validation protocols. Our models are, again, trained to deliver against research use cases. So when our people are using Ipsos Facto, the use case is recognized and the right model is applied for that task and intended result. Fraud detection is also baked into all of this, and we only input client data with their express permission. So you've heard a lot about prompt engineering, and to be fair, models are getting better and better at anticipating intent. So for the everyday user, becoming an expert in prompt engineering is becoming less important. That said, you will still get better results if you ask the right questions. So when we have use cases with 39, 40, 60-page prompts designed for that use case, that matters for that specific output that we're trying to guide. But when it comes to an everyday user, we established this CREATE framework as a great guide of telling the model what role it should play, being clear about the request along with some examples, and being clear about how we want the output. So this is something that our researchers have been trained on. And it's a really great framework for any everyday user. So I would encourage you to screenshot this right now. We'll send this out later as well. But like what Christy had talked about with great Gen AI solutions, having really complex prompts that power those use cases is still important. And this is more so for that everyday user, but a good best practice for the everyday user. So our teams use Ipsos Facto for a litany of use cases, some of which are here on the slide. But when it comes to driving adoption, it's important to identify the key use cases you want your teams to follow for innovation and creativity workflows, as well as those that accelerate the research process. At its core, it's a change management exercise to demonstrate the benefits of the before and after in the scenarios where Gen AI is applied. But once people get comfortable with the basic use cases, they become creative power users who find more and more applications for Gen AI in their work lives. So in the US, we currently have 63% of our researchers using Ipsos Facto monthly, up from 20% at the beginning of this year. So I can guarantee that by leaning into core use cases and training your employees on those core use cases and having knowledge sharing sessions and being really deliberate about change management, you can quickly accelerate your Gen AI journey. So to close, I'll leave you with some lessons learned on our journey in a nutshell. The first is to just get started. We are well beyond the concept phase with Gen AI. So if you're not applying it yet, now is the time to catch up. The second is to train your models on data that is relevant to your use cases. In our case, that's of course market research data, and this will ensure results are better, safer, and more relevant. Third is to ask the right question. Just like research, how the question is asked can influence the result. This is why we're so invested in prompts, have built a prompt library for our teams, and are training them on how to prompt appropriately. Next is testing into the use cases that matter most to your organization, and then get feedback from your users so that you're driving a roadmap that's delivering value to them, whether those users are your own employees or your clients, just like we are. Focus on the tangible results also and the business KPIs that are your measures of success. A lot of companies that I speak to are investing in Gen AI, but they don't really have clear benefits in mind. It's just something that they feel like they know they need to do. I've had lots and lots of experience with digital transformation efforts, and I can guarantee you that yes, everyone jumps on the bandwagon, but then eventually there are some really critical questions that come your way focused on the business benefit and the outcomes that are being delivered. So my recommendation to everyone is, even if you're not getting that pressure now, to start thinking about what those questions are going to be and to start measuring and tracking benefits now, because that question is definitely coming up. And if it hasn't happened yet, it's definitely coming in 2025. And lastly, be open-minded to new ideas and change. This is a very rapidly evolving space. So what you believe you need today could very well change tomorrow. And I also wanted to provide you with some guidance when it comes to evaluating your partner's use of Gen AI. So Ipsos or any other partners within your ecosystem. The first is to probe on the reliability and sources of their data. This is the basis for output quality. The second is to hold them accountable to your compliance standards. If they can't answer your security and privacy questions accurately, then more investment is needed in that technology. The third is to ask about how the models are trained and tested. This will give you an idea of how much rigor is going into the development, which is again an indication of the quality of the output that you can expect. Fourth is to really understand what use cases the tool is built to ensure are truly different from what you could achieve with an enterprise ChatGPT license. the way that we're going about the engineering of our solutions is extremely fit for purpose. So it is differentiated in that sense. But without that type of technological rigor and bringing in research methodologies and robust data sets, you're not going to get something different. So be sure to probe on what really makes the approach to model training different. The fifth is to understand the incremental value that's supposed to be delivered. So we shared stories about this today, real, true business impact for our clients. And it's important to ask, what is going to be different for my organization by leveraging these tools that are powered by Gen AI versus traditional approaches. And lastly, ask about the role of the research expert. They are critical in the process of validating results, bringing context and empathy to the data, and translating AI-powered insights into recommendations for your business. Technology alone isn't enough, but powerful new technology combined with true expertise is what is truly game-changing. So I will pause here and I'm going to take a quick look to see what questions we have in the chat since we've got a few minutes for those. So just give me a second. Okay. Christy, I think you can answer this one tied to Purina. So it says, on those different projects with Purina, what were some of the lessons learned from the various projects they've completed leveraging Gen AI? So lessons learned from those 5 different projects that were leveraging Gen AI.
Sure, Steph. And I would actually be in a position to share what the Director of Insights had presented at the conferences. There are 3 key lessons that Purina has learned. The first one is that just get started, no pilot is a failure. Each and every experience that we had, we learned something, and that made us a lot smarter about how to leverage Gen AI within the research organization. Number 2, he would say that pilots really do provide us opportunities to identify what can scale. We're in a position in the research community to identify how we can take this new tool and leverage it in a way that's going to be effective within the organization. And everything's not going to work for each and every culture. And so pilots do enable understanding scale for impact. And then the last one I did allude to earlier, but it's one that he really emphasized and dwelled on, which is, we got into this thinking faster, certainly leveraging new tools, but better outcomes was really a delight. It was a moment when there was a realization of AI can do what I couldn't do before. And this better outcome was they really hadn't been able to get into the soul of the pet previously, but through the approaches that we used, we were able to really illuminate what that pet really needed, and that enabled them to make some changes to their campaigns, which really is having a positive impact. So those are the 3 lessons I would say are most salient.
Those are great. There's another one here that I think is pretty interesting, and maybe we can both comment on since we have a couple more minutes. How do you get an organization to adopt new technology like this if we've been doing the same thing the same ways for years and there's little motivation in the culture to change? I think that's a really good question because it's true, it is a massive change. So I mentioned that when we launched our tool Ipsos Facto, we immediately put it into the hands of all of our researchers and all of our employees. And I'd say, one of the promises that we placed with that launch was that we wanted to hear the user feedback and we wanted to make sure that we were developing solutions that actually made their lives easier. So obviously there's a ton of fear around what Gen AI means for people's jobs. And what we focused on is that's not the concern. The concern is how do we take activities that are pulling time away from really high value, higher level thinking and give you solutions that make your life easier, make your work life easier, give you time back for the things that you care more about. So I would say from a change management perspective, just being really clear on the value that it's going to bring to employees in their day-to-day and why it actually makes their job easier and elevates them is an important point. And then also really truly showing that you care about the voice of the employee and that you're bringing that feedback into what you're building for them. Those are the two that I would say stood out the most to me. There's many, like we have a very, very robust global change management strategy and governance structure in order to drive change and enable. But those are, I think, the 2 points that stick out the most to me. I don't know, Christy, do you have any to add?
Yes, I sure do. And I've been working with a number of our clients who are going through this transformative journey right now. And there's a recognition, and we even have shown the data on this in our global Gen AI monitor, that fear exists. You know, this worry to wonder spectrum, the wonder is definitely increasing, but the worry still resides within our organizations. And so hitting that straight on and just acknowledging that with data to say, we know, you know, that there is some reticence, there's some fear. As a matter of fact, when we did the Insights Association conference presentation, I had a mentee at the very beginning and I had the audience raise, you know, respond to the question of what are you doing with your brands and your categories with Gen AI? And basically the #1 response was nothing. They're not allowed. You know, because there is this really, I think, an impediment, you know, that exists in the market today. But the reality is to overcome that barrier, face it, acknowledge it, identify that this is not a fad, it's here to stay. And we have an obligation within the industry to explore, experiment, but appropriately also guide the organization on appropriate applications. You know, we know our business partners are using in some way. So from the research standpoint, we want to ensure that the right questions are being answered and the right applications are actually being delivered. And for one of our clients, as a matter of fact, there was this initial reticence, but they actually leaned in. This is another client who is leveraging Signals Gen AI. And what we did was we set up office hours and some hands-on hacking sessions. So the point you were making earlier, get people to touch it, to experience it, to understand what's possible with it. And that can enable them then to become more familiar and you know, recognize how it can be a wonderful tool within the learning programs that they design.
You know, you reminded me, one thing that I really love about the stories that you shared earlier is that all of those clients joined us on a journey together where we were experimenting together, we were co-creating, we were, you know, open-minded to what's possible, and we were bringing solutions that had already been tested, but that client feedback was so incredibly important throughout the cycle. And as we're continuing to develop new solutions, the greatest value is coming through co-creation with clients. So it's an interesting frontier in that we're able to tackle these things together.
And I think you need to have that mindset of, if we fail, that's learning, so we still have won. You know, like sometimes you have to lean in. Not everything is going to work for you. So, you know, as long as you acknowledge that from the start. I mean, the good news is work with partners who actually are setting up, you know, the guidelines and the protocol to address what some of the downsides are, you know, certainly positions you well to make progress. But I do love that mindset of, let's see what we can do and see what's possible. And we will continue to iterate, you know, in this space to help our clients meet the needs.
Absolutely. And that's, there was one question I scrolled past, but I'll jump back to. It's like a quick 20-second response. It was around if using an enterprise license for a ChatGPT or something, it would have less reliable results than using one of our tools. And I don't want to necessarily speak to reliability because I don't know how your enterprise license has been procured. I don't know what kind of training or what kind of data has gone into the models that you're using, but I will just emphasize that, yeah, quality data does matter. And that's where, you know, our decades of research data training our models does give us confidence around the reliability of our outputs, so that when we are going into a co-creation experimental mindset with our clients, we're coming into it with high confidence around the quality that it's going to deliver. Okay, I think that's all we have time for. So I'm going to pause there, but we will follow up with individuals to answer the questions that we did not get to, so long as we can answer the questions. There's a couple about the client stories that we can't get into that level of detail, but definitely appreciate the questions, everyone, and thank you for joining. And I'm going to pass it over to Ellen to wrap us up.
Wow, I just really want to thank Stephanie and Christy for their excellent presentation and the case studies. Thank you all for joining us. And as Stephanie said, if we didn't get to your question, we will do so by email. Also, be on the lookout for a link to today's recorded presentation, which should be coming in the next few days. In the meantime, we welcome the opportunity to speak with you, so please feel free to reach out to us. That now concludes today's amazing webinar. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Happy holidays all. Bye.
Bye-bye.